If you ask me for a realistic path in the crypto market, I would say up, down, up. In today's video, we'll be talking about that path and how I don't think that the lows are necessarily in for Bitcoin, although we will likely see some upside in the short term. If you enjoy the content, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe. Without further ado, let's jump right into the video. As per usual, showing you the Bitcoin price action, I am still in my Bitcoin long trade and we cashed out around $10,000 in profit, currently sitting at around a $13,000 P&L unrealized. Now, if I show you the charts here, you can see that we did reclaim a very important level that I have been vocal about on the channel, and that is $112,000. A reclaim of this level does mean that Bitcoin can move higher. And right now you can see that we're starting to get more and more closes back above $112,000. Now, what does this mean for the short term? Because we have some very key events that will likely determine the fate of the markets. And those are the upcoming inflation readings and, of course, FOMC. So right now that we're above $112,000, I see no reason why we can't target the upside liquidity that we have been talking about at the bare minimum right around this cluster 113.5K. This is a pivotal level to reclaim if we are to see proper continuation in the market, and then we would arguably start targeting this high over here, which was around the Jackson Hole event, just above $117,000. It's showing us that in the short term, a lot of people have started to pile into longs. Now, I was vocally bullish on the bottom, but I am starting to err on the side of caution. So you can see that there's a pretty significant cluster here right below $111,000, which would liquidate a lot of longs on this 24-hour time frame. Although you can see that higher up, there is arguably even more liquidity, which is almost up to $114,000. So here is my play: up, down, up. And what I mean by this is, in my opinion, looking at this move from the low, it was not impulsive whatsoever from Bitcoin. You can see that it's extremely choppy to the upside, and because of this, I find it hard to believe that we won't revisit the lows at some point. That being said, though, you can see that in the short term on the 4-hour time frame, we continue to hold this trend line as support, and Bitcoin is starting to close more and more back above $112,000. And just to show you some of my other trades, I shared this trade within my free premium Telegram group, which was an ENA long trade. Now, this was an epic one, particularly because it gave a lot of people time to enter over the weekend. You can see that we made around $22,500 in realized profit, and right now we're currently sitting at around $33,000 in unrealized profit. Now, I'm willing to hold this one for a little bit higher, assuming that Bitcoin continues to hold back above $112,000, which at the time of recording this video, we are seeing. But I also wanted to give you a little bit more insight as to how my group works. So basically, you sign up with me with one of the links in my description down below, Bluffin or Weeks. You make a minimum deposit of $500 and you're eligible to join my group completely for free to start copying my own trade setups if that's what you wish to do. Now, the point of this group isn't just some random signal group where I'm throwing out signals every 30 minutes just so you can hopefully get one that hits profit. The point of this group is for me to share my own personal trade setups. Everything that is shared in this group is exactly how I am personally operating in the market with my own capital. And so if you'd like to follow along, you can see here, I had this ENA long that I published over the course of the weekend. We essentially just stabilized for quite some time, and then boom, we had a massive move and a lot of our members are now in profits. So if you'd like to join, you do have that first link in the description down below. I'll keep on talking about it. I'll keep on promoting it because at the end of the day, it's my own personal trade setups. And if that's something you'd like and you want a no noise, no bullshit crypto group completely for free, then go ahead and join. DM me the word premium on Telegram and I would be happy to onboard you. You click the link in my description down below. It brings you to this page. You click send message, say premium, and there you go. I will send you the details to be able to join. Now, back to the charts. So as long as we continue to hold above $112,000, I'm still favoring a move up to some more liquidity. And the reason I say this is because you can see that on this heat map, on the 30-day time frame, there is still 2 times more short liquidation leverage than long liquidation leverage. However, you can see that the trend is starting to shift. Remember when Bitcoin was at the bottom here and I was talking about how we would likely get a significant bounce? Well, In this case, we had way more shorts in the market. I'm talking 6 to 8 times more shorts in the market. And you can see that this trend is starting to shift. As Bitcoin continued to trickle on up, more people were adding to their shorts. But now that Bitcoin is starting to show a little bit of strength back above $112,000, people have stopped adding to their shorts and have actually started to flip long. Now, it's still very much in the short favor, so we can go ahead and target especially this liquidity cluster between 113 all the way up to around 114. However, it is time to start being a little bit cautious. I like using this tool because it doesn't tell me exactly what's going to happen in the short term, but it does show us the change in dynamics in the market. And typically, when there are way more longs in the market and the price action is stalling out, we tend to go and grab that long liquidity. However, when there are way more shorts in the market and Bitcoin just continues to consolidate as it has been doing, we do see some kind of move to grab that upside liquidity before potentially reversing. And that's actually my base case. If we can confirm above 113.5K in the short term here, then I do think there's a strong case to be made that we can potentially go as high as 117 and grab all of this liquidity here before reversing lower. Because this wasn't an impulsive move from the low, as I said, I find it hard to believe that this is the low that's going to send us for the final leg of this bull market cycle. So, as I started the video, my path is up, down, up. Let's see how it plays out. There's not many people on YouTube that actually give you a direct path that they think will play out, but I don't think that the all-time high for this cycle is in, and that's why you don't want to miss the forest for the trees. But I do think that we can get a little pump, get everyone all excited, come back down, test the lows, and likely set new lows, and then go ahead and move higher for the final leg of this bull market cycle. That is my path. That is how I'm going to be playing this market in terms of trading. Now, my spot bags, I'm still just holding Bitcoin and Ethereum. And as I said, I will be shifting my focus into altcoins should we get a more significant pullback. You can already see that when we bounce from these lows, as I've been talking about on the channel at length, altcoins do tend to outperform, especially the stronger ones, which is why I jumped into an ENA long trade setup. And right now it is really paying me dividends. All you really need in this market to be profitable is a couple of swing longs, swing shorts, let them play out, hit your take profits, and all of a sudden you're printing and you're not stressed because you're not in a gazillion different positions. I can't tell you how many people I've spoken to that went ahead and joined my group and then they were shocked by the fact that I was only posting at most 3 trade setups a week. Guys, you don't need to be in 20 active positions if you're trading this market. That is not how you're going to be a successful crypto trader. Too many positions, too much headache. I would not go that route if I were you. Now, Bitcoin can easily target the upside liquidity, as I said, so long as we continue to hold above $112,000, which we are doing. But we need to start paying attention here because tomorrow and Thursday, we have some very important inflation data, which will likely tell us by how many basis points we will get a rate cut at the next FOMC meeting. Because right now, if you take a look at the odds, you can see that there's actually an 8% chance here that we get a 50 basis point rate cut. That would be epic. However, we need to be cautious with inflation. So in a few minutes from now, we actually have the non-farm payrolls annual revision, but tomorrow we have PPI and then the following day, CPI. The reason why this is important is because you have to remember the Fed's dual mandate. The unemployment rate has been steadily rising. As you can see, 4.1% in July, 4.2% in August, and then at the earliest print in September, 4.3%. So this, of course, justifies rate cuts. However, with the Fed's dual mandate of maximum employment and keeping inflation under control, we cannot ignore the fact that if we get a hotter than expected inflation print, it will likely spook the markets because then we'll have to start talking about stagflation. And you can see that actually at the last PPI print, we had the rate at 3.3% with the forecast at 2.5%. So if something like this happens again with the forecast now at 3.3%, and for example, it comes in at around 3.6 or much higher than the forecast, then I do think that the markets will be getting spooked. We also have the CPI inflation, which you can see has been actually dropping ever so slightly. Now this is positive. So if the forecast is 2.9% and we can get maybe the actual at 2.8 or 2.7, then ultimately that makes a very good case for rate cuts. But keep your eyes on inflation because if inflation starts getting out of control and they're already pushing rate cuts because the unemployment rate is going up, stagflation will be a very, very severe issue. Look, Bitcoin is just chugging along as it normally does, back above $112,000 and on our way to the upside liquidity. I told you how I'm playing it. I think we will likely go up, and if we can reclaim 113.5, which was actually the level that I took some profits on my original Bitcoin long setup, then at that point we can start talking about targeting the upside liquidity. But I am cautiously optimistic. I don't think that we go ahead and make an aggressive new all-time high from here. It doesn't seem like we're ready for that quite yet. I think we get that move to the upside, but ultimately we come back down, test the lows, wreck a lot of people that went long from the lows, including myself, and then we can go ahead and move higher. Right now though, this is still looking relatively healthy, and you can still see that there's way more short liquidation leverage in the market. As soon as this starts to flip, it's also time to pay attention. So pay attention to these heat maps, pay attention to the inflation rate, let's see what happens, and I wouldn't be aggressive with any positions in these upcoming next few days. If, for example, we get a massive capitulation wick into the inflation data, that should be seen as another strong opportunity to potentially go long to target some upside liquidity. That is how I'm currently playing this market. And remember, if you want to trade with me, you have all the links in the description down below. Bluffin gives you $2,000 worth of free Ethereum that you can actually withdraw from your account based on how you're trading on the platform. And we also have weeks where you can get a 10,000 Ethereum position airdrop, which just requires you to deposit the amount that you want to trade with. For example, if you deposit $5,000 and you start trading with that capital, you can get a $5,000 Ethereum position airdrop that you can also use towards trading ETH. Then you also get 25% off all of your trading fees. Go ahead and sign up to these exchanges. I've been using them. As you can see, on weeks, I have a pretty big position open. I also have a pretty big position open on Bluffin. These are my trusted exchanges, and if you'd like to sign up, you have the links in the description down below. And that sums up today's quick video. We have a pretty interesting week ahead. Inflation data is coming out tomorrow and the following day, and we also have FOMC in 8 days from now. Let's see what happens. I think that we're likely going to see a lot of traders wrecked as we see a move to the upside, then to the downside, then potentially to the upside. At least that is currently my base case. I hope you can appreciate how I'm painting this path. If you enjoy the content, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe, and I'll see you in tomorrow's video.